Hey guys, welcome to the Life with People podcast. I'm Theresa, and I'm super excited that you have found yourself here. To give you a little intro, I believe that community helps to bring meaning, belonging, and purpose to our daily lives. But sadly, we're more and more disconnected from the authentic forms of community we deeply long for. My goal with this podcast is to give hope that finding, building, rebuilding, or reimagining community is not only possible, it's within your reach. To release some vision and how you can move forward toward it, and to provide resources and tools to help make it happen. I'm here learning right along with you. I started this podcast from my own place of longing to build community in this odd, divided, disconnected world we find ourselves in. With that being said, let's jump into today's episode with Daniel and Marissa Zheng. We recorded this episode at the beginning of the year, about a week before they made a big move with their family of four. We talk all about what it's like to make friends in a new city and how powerful consistency is when it comes to building community. We also talk about how following the practice of the Sabbath with others can form us in ways we didn't expect. I hope you enjoy this conversation with my dear friends. As always, I value your feedback from your own personal insights into what community looks like for you. So feel free to DM me, email me, take the community survey, send up a flare, do whatever you got to do, but please reach out. Also, do me a favor and subscribe to the Life of People podcast. It helps others find the show just like you. All right, here we go. Let's jump in. All right, I'm here with Daniel and Marissa Zheng, good friends of mine. And this is my first interview for Life with People. And yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
This is
it's very
exciting.
exciting.
We're here in the Zheng's living room. I mean, it won't be their living room for very much longer because they are moving. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that tonight. Like, how do you build community when you've moved? And I think that is a story of being friends and doing life together. I think it's super appropriate because they are some of my first friends and longest standing friends in the area that I live in now. And I met them not long after I moved to where I live. And they also relocated to my area.
Right around the same time.
Right around the same time. A mutual friend of theirs and mine introduced us, and we ended up hanging out. I don't know. How did that happen?
How did that happen? Well, you met Daniel before I even moved out there.
That's true.
And we had met a few people when we moved to Ventura, but when we were going to meet you that first night on the way there, Daniel had told me, like, Marissa, you are going to really like Theresa. She's your kind of person, and I generally think well of people anyways, but he was right, I met you and it's like, yes, I do really like Theresa. She is my kind of person.
So more than like a general wellness
Yeah.
people. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's so good. Our mutual friend, Heather, who lives in Colorado, like you guys were getting ready to move out here. I was already living in the area, and she reached out to me and was like, I have some friends moving to your area. They're looking for friends and community, and I think you guys would be friends. And that is the inception. So thank you, Heather, for good friends of mine, and I will give them back to you, maybe.
What's not mentioned is that you didn't respond to that email. Did you, Theresa?
I didn't initially.
Because it's awkward.
Yeah, well,
it's awkward to do friend meetups.
Sure.
Because you don't know.
I mean, honestly, it was more, I saw the text message. I was like, great. I think I even initially responded to you. And then, or maybe I didn't. Maybe I just ghosted you.
I don't remember.
I may have ghosted you. Anyway, all that to say, there was a lag on my side, and Heather gently and forcefully and gently nudged me.
Assertive.
Assertive. That's a good word. That's a better word. Assertive. Heather messaged me and said, I hear you haven't responded to Daniel, and I just don't want you to miss out on an opportunity for good friends. And I think sometimes we need people to be assertive with us and force us into friendships. No, it's been a joy to be friends with you guys. And when you first moved here, you had Asher and he was little, and you were pregnant with Benji.
Yeah.
And now I've gotten to watch Benji the last few years. It's been so fun. So, all this to say, we became friends. And then every once in a while, we would have dinner. Like you guys might invite me over. I might invite you over for dinner. And at one point, after a few months, it was like every Friday night, it felt like we were kind of checking in. One of us was inviting the other one over.
Yeah, and it was always last minute. It would be Friday at 4 o'clock.
Yes.
And it'd be like, hey, we don't have plans tonight. Any chance you're free and want to come over for dinner? And I want to say, like every time you would say, yes, I'm free. I will. And you would be over there within like an hour and a half. And
I needed a social life, obviously.
well, we were both kind of new to the area. And so it, it just worked out really well, I think, in that we both were looking for friendship and community in this community where I feel like the people who have been here for a long time aren't necessarily looking to expand their friend groups.
True. Yeah.
I do feel like this is a community where people come here and they stay here for a long time and they have deep roots. And when you are an outsider coming in, everybody is so nice and so kind, but they also don't have a lot of extra space in their lives to form a lot of new deep friendships. And so I think we just hit it right, in that you were new to the area and so were we. And we had no one to hang out with on Friday nights, and we had a small child, and then within a couple months had a newborn, So yeah, I do recall us being like, you know what, it's like we always have Friday nights free. We love to have something to do on Friday nights to look forward to. Like we should just plan on always getting together on Friday night. That way we know we always have something to do. And I do remember while we were doing that, I was reading the John Mark Comer book, The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. And I had been in the section on the Sabbath, excuse me, during that time. And it really felt a lot like when we would meet on Friday nights, that was the start of a Sabbath for us, finish out the work week and preparing for the weekend and having this regular planned time together where we got to share a meal and talk about our weeks and talk about God and what was going on in our lives. And yeah, so that's where it all started.
Yeah, and it became super meaningful as a source of connection and community. And it's Wednesday night right now because we have limited nights before you guys move. And so I came over, and if you can hear what's going on, there's dogs here in the background, and their dog Watson, bless you, little Watson, you're a licker. And so it's a Wednesday night right now. But in my mind, I'm like, I don't have to work tomorrow. It's Sabbath because we're all together and we shared a meal. And there's something about ritual and that triggering of Sabbath and doing it with friends and with community and with family. So for me, it became such a meaningful thing. Like I was in a season when we first got into a habit of hanging out on Friday nights where I was going to a church and even in a life group at that church, but the conversations and the connections weren't as deep as we were going together on Friday nights and as friends. And at one point, they were wanting me to get more involved. I even had someone at the church say to me, I don't understand. You never miss your Friday night dinner. Like, I don't understand why you can't commit to this thing at the church. And I'm thinking to myself, I don't think you understand.
You don't understand my Friday night dinner.
This is church to me in many ways. The fellowship side, the communion side. I mean, how often, Daniel, have you read the liturgical prayer as we go to eat dinner? And for me, a really meaningful source of community and even spiritual connection. And so, yeah.
Yeah, I grew up in big non-denominational churches where church looked a certain way and was the big production of a service that has lots of people there. You pray, you sing 3 songs, you do announcements, you turn and shake someone's hand, and then you sit down and listen to a sermon, and then you go home. And I think my time here in California has been a very different spiritual journey for me as a Christian, because we have joined these smaller house churches since being here, and they really can be small. It does feel like in the churches we've been a part of is more like a family, and we share a meal together. And when we are talking about the Bible, it's a sermon, sure, but it's really a conversation between friends and between family members at the same table. And so that's very true for what we do on Friday nights as well, I think, is we're friends. We've become family. We're like each other's chosen family here in this little space in Ventura, California. But it's how we choose to engage. You know, we talk about the Bible and the struggles and different things we've had with church and Christianity, and our hopes and dreams, and all of it has just been tied together so beautifully. And it's such a different way of viewing Christianity than I have been used to, or that I grew up in. That it, like you're saying, that it can be 2 or 3 gathered together in my name, sharing a meal, doing life together. Like it really can be that.
Yeah, it's been so normal. It's not like we get together and we're like, and here's the agenda for the night. It's so
informal.
Very informal. That's a good way to say it. But I think the sentiment that I hear you sharing and was there is an element of depth and connection and doing life together. And there's been no topic that's been off the table in our conversations, especially after your kids go to bed. So it's been extremely meaningful for me, and I'm very grateful to both of you.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I do think part of what has been so cool about, because we've been doing this for 3.5 years now.
Sure. Yeah.
And when we say like every Friday night, for the most part, we mean it. Every single Friday night, we plan to be together.
Sometimes
someone's
that's camping.
traveling. Sometimes we're camping. Sometimes we're hanging out with other people.
Yeah.
And we say, yeah, we can hang out. But on Friday nights, Theresa is with us. This is what we do. And Theresa does the same thing. You know,
it's true.
Like, yeah, we can do something on Friday, but the Zhengs are coming, and it's the 2 of them and their 2 kids, and sometimes their dog, you know, like,
Right.
we do it together. And I do think the consistency of saying we are going to meet every Friday, we've met through some difficult times.
Oh, yeah.
Because we have been so consistent about it, there isn't a lot of hiding, you know, if a week hasn't gone well, or a month or a year, we're still there, and we have dinner through that and talk through it, and
or not,
you know, some things you talk about other things.
Yeah, but like you said, there's no real hiding from it, and there is an element of consistency in doing life. And what's funny is there's been no compulsion, right? And I don't even know if that's the correct word, but what I mean is it's not like I've been like, oh, you must do this or else. On the rare occasion that one of us has to miss for some reason, there's no guilt. It's kind of like, well, man, what am I going to do on Friday night? But it's not like you have failed me.
I don't feel like we have to. It's a want to. And our kids just love it.
Yeah.
They love seeing you on Friday nights.
And that's been a blessing for me too, because I don't have kids yet. So it's fun to walk in and your kids be like, Theresa, like, like, hi.
Yeah, they love you. They think you're a part of the family. So.
I think you're right in terms of we didn't decide from the beginning,
right,
with a compulsion. We were going to dedicate the next 3 years to meet every Friday. We didn't say that, but the consistency has proven to be there. I think it's interesting. I was reading this week in Exodus 16. It's when the Israelites are in the wilderness of sin, and they're grumbling because they don't have any food, and God provides for them manna and quail. And on the 6th day, they gather twice the portion to account for the seventh day, which is the Sabbath. And I remember reading that on the seventh day, some Israelites went out to look for manna and quail. And I forget the specific wording, but what I thought of at the moment when I read that was, oh, there was consistency. They, for the sixth day before, they gathered for the food that they needed that day. And on the seventh day, they just got up in the morning and started doing the same thing. But then that wasn't the case. And they needed to create a different rhythm, to create something that was still consistent. Every seventh day it's a Sabbath, but it was a different rhythm, and there was a change. And it's a small change, but I think that consistency, like over time, just like water wears a groove into a rock, it's very powerful. And like you said, like there's no compulsion, but the consistency over the years has created a groove. It shows the committedness and the dedication that we had to each other.
Yeah. And it shows the relational equity growing, relational equity and trust and even history, right? There is something to be said for the fact that we were all new to the area, right? And so there's reality of, well, I don't have a lot of history with anyone in this area. And so we were able to, like, I've watched you guys make other friends. You've watched me make other friends, but you're some of my first friends in the area. So as your history with people grows, your trust grows. I mean, you guys watched me walk through a pretty hard time, and you're choosing to do life with people and being like, hey, here's this hard thing I'm going through. That relational equity bank just gets filled. And you're right. Like, we didn't set out. It's not like we were like, all right, Heather, thanks for connecting us. And now we will meet every Friday night until they move back to Colorado. It was like every few weeks we might see each other. And then it became a little bit more, because we were becoming more like regular buddies, right? And then it was just like, hey, you know what?
And then it was a choice.
And then it was a choice.
It was a choice.
Let's make Friday night plans.
Let's lock it in.
Let's do it. Yeah. And I was like, I'm down. So,
which is really kind of you. I mean, because you could do anything. Like we are a married couple with two very small children. One is a newborn. We can do very little. We can't even necessarily go out on a Friday night or go out for very long. We got to come home and put our kids to bed. So to have you be willing to give up your Friday nights, come hang out with us, and to do that consistently over 3 years. Now we've been able to do more fun things as the kids have gotten older.
Sure.
That's been a real blessing to us, that you have stepped into our situation and sort of met us where we were at, doing what we were able to do.
well, I think on the flip side of that, not everyone knows how to bring someone into their life that's in a different season, right? The fact that you guys are like, yeah, come in, be here. It's okay that you don't have a significant other and you're here and you can be with our family, but we're still going to treat you like a peer, like a friend. And you're like, you have a seat at the table. It is a skill, and a skill we can all grow in, to be able to relate to and bring people in different seasons of their lives into our spaces, right? And I mean, what you don't know is I'm not a big partier, so I don't need Friday night plans, I guess. Like, literally when I go on dates, I'm like, are you free Friday? No, not Friday. I don't know what they think is happening, but you just, begin to make space for things.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting earlier, Marissa, you had mentioned this area where people have been here for a long time. They don't really have room in their lives for new people. And that's not a knock on them at all. Like,
No.
that is a testimony of, wow, you have a full life and you're well connected, right? Whether your family is from this area or you've been here a long time. And I've heard it described this way, like, if you move to, like, our area in particular, but I feel like this could be said of other cities or other Christian communities or other faith communities, where if you go somewhere and you find your orca pod, like your pod of people, you do well. But if you don't find them, you're swimming the ocean by yourself, kind of thing. And I think what people don't realize is that it can take a long time to find your pod, like wherever you are going, right? I have told several people now, that are thinking of moving states, I mean, I only moved like an hour and a half away from where I used to live. And it felt like I've changed states because I live in Southern California and freeways are crazy. There's just something to be said for people who live 10 minutes away versus an hour and a half away. But it can take a solid 2 years to really feel like your feet are on the ground, you have good connections, you have enough history and relational equity with people where you can actually be honest and let them into, unless you have something go on where you have no choice.
Yeah.
Sometimes we go through seasons where we have no choice but to be vulnerable and to allow people into our lives to help us. Anyway, but it could take some time.
It takes so many hours.
Right. And so I think, again, the advantage of all of us being new to the area at the same time, it was really like you were saying, when you were sharing that story about Exodus and you kept talking about manna, I was like, you guys were my manna.
I feel that way about you, of like, you are God's provision for us here, as a friend, and in some ways as our family, because we don't have any family here when we moved here with no friends. And yeah, it's been such a blessing. You are totally a godsend. I do feel that.
Vice versa.
Now that we're kind of stumbling onto community, I feel like the Bible does talk about this aspect. Like you said, it can take up to 2 years. And I'm like, I've been actually in roughly this area. I was stationed at Vandenberg Air Force Base and I was living in Santa Maria. And I spent 4 years there, and I felt like I had very little community in the places that I was investing a lot of my time into. And that left me frustrated. And the Bible talks about the disciples being sent out in twos, and one of the instructions is to go into a town and do the things. And if they weren't well received, and maybe I'm butchering this, but they were told to just brush off the dust off their sandals and to move on. And I think what Jesus is saying is don't take it personally and just,
right.
And sometimes that's not the place that you need to be in. There's also the parable of the sower where seeds are sown on the side of the road or in rocky soil or in soil where it was choked out by weeds and thorns. I think in a similar way, when we choose to move or when we have to move, where whatever the situation may be, and you end up in a new area. And I feel like I've done that throughout my life.
Right.
That sometimes you end up in a place where those roots they don't go very deep, and it's rocky soil. And I'm trying to learn from and to not take those experiences personal, because community is something that I am looking for and it's very important to me. And sometimes it just doesn't happen.
It's true.
And for us, I think we're choosing to move back to Colorado, partially because it is a place that I know for me personally, I feel like it's rich soil.
Sure.
And it's deep roots that we left for 3.5 years and we just went back in January. And it was like we went back and saw the roots that we had there that we thought we had pulled out and left and brought here. And to me, it just seems like, no, those roots are still there.
Come on.
The spades are still there.
So. That's powerful. That's powerful. And I feel like I'm going to not take that personally. No, but that's super powerful, because I think there is an element of, there are times when it's okay to make big decisions like that just because you're like, I need friends. Like, I shouldn't be your only friend. I know I'm not your only friend. But I'm saying, it's like, I know, Daniel, for you, what's crazy is you, like Marissa and I talk about this, you make friends really easily. And you know how to walk into a space and be there and find friends. You care about it. You care about making friends, and you're good at making friends, and you're good at connecting to people. And I know this season has been super frustrating because you haven't quite found your mountain biking friends. Let's just say that.
Sound like dirt evangelists.
Yeah, you haven't found your mountain biking friends. And what I mean by that is that category of friend where you can play hard and go deep, like because you so long for that rich soil and to go deep. And so I am really excited for you guys to go back for that, and for you to, Marissa, I know your family there, all the things. I'm curious, Daniel, because you really have moved several times. What have you found when you've moved? And this is the question, we didn't prep at all for this long conversation. So if you're like, man, Theresa, I don't want to talk about that, that's totally fine. But I would say, do you have any?
There's a ghost creeping into our space.
Do you have a Facebook market person picking anything up right now?
No.
Are you sure? Or a possum? Bingley, is there a possum?
It's true. It could be a
Yes.
possum.
I'll go check.
Okay.
But ask the question.
Ask the question. If there's an intruder, don't worry about it. Did you look or do you just look? We've now deadbolted the door.
So that no one coming to steal the Facebook marketplace goods can come and attack us.
$5 items. Oh man, okay. We literally are sitting in their living room full of boxes. So
It's a little sad.
yeah. You all should pray for me.
Colorado Springs
What?
for a job in a
Husband.
Colorado Springs.
Colorado Springs.
That is not what I said. I said pray. Okay, because you have moved so many times. What advice would you even give yourself right now moving, or what advice would you give me? What have you found helpful each time you've come to a new place where you don't know people?
I think I kind of said it already.
Okay, say it again.
And I think it's when it doesn't work out to not take it personally. But every time try to be vulnerable, try to be 100% in.
That's good.
One thing that a friend of mine, Jeff, did that really inspired me was, so, he was a friend of mine in Air Force, and he was at Vandenberg for a long extended stay. I think it was 9 months. And at the time, I was living there. It's roughly a 4-year assignment, but really when you're there, you don't know where you're going next. It feels like you're there. So, I was investing into the community. I was investing into a ministry called Young Life, and volunteering and starting a chapter in Santa Maria with high schoolers. There were a number of areas that I was plugged in.
Yeah.
That was swing dancing up in San Luis Obispo. That was biking and doing bike mechanic volunteering in a co-op up in San Luis Obispo. It was Young Life in Santa Maria. And what I thought was really interesting was Jeff knew that he was leaving, but he didn't pull out. He kept investing 100% till the last day. And that was something that I think difficult for me, was that I think initially I come in with a lot of vigor and a lot of stamina and to invest into the relationships. But I find that when I know there's an end date and I'm leaving, that I check out and I pull away from the relationships. So I guess the advice I would give, it's, if you have a bad experience, don't take it personally. And also don't let that affect how you behave in the new area that you are in, because it's different. And those relationships the people may seem the same or different, or and you may even encounter a similar conflict or whatnot, or a barrier, like an emotional or interpersonal barrier of some sort. But I feel like it's to not let your past experiences deter you from investing into the relationships in the community.
No, it's so good. So I heard you say a couple things, and I think they're both really good. And I think even you're talking about don't let your past experiences in other places affect your next place, right?
Mhm.
But I think even in the place that you are, like I've had to tell myself when I'm in a new area or I'm engaging in a new group, whether it be with a new job or a new community or checking out a new faith community or something, I've had to tell myself, you know what? It's okay. Especially people you see all the time. It's like, just because you invite someone out to coffee and they say no, doesn't mean they'll say no the second time. It also doesn't mean you need to stalk them and stuff. And it also means that somebody else, next time you come, maybe it's someone else that you connect with. Realizing just because you don't make a meaningful connection with somebody the first time you go somewhere, whether it be a church community or a house party or a running group that you went to, just because you didn't really connect with somebody the first time doesn't mean the next time you won't, right? And so not letting that deter you from investing. I mean, you guys know this. At one point, I had one foot here and one foot in another place as I was thinking about moving. And in that season, I think it's when I doubled down and got super consistent with you guys on Friday nights, actually.
Yeah.
But I wasn't making as many new connections because I thought I was on my way out. Right. Like you said, you kind of pull away.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say I didn't pull away from you guys, but I did slow down on making new connections in the area. And when I realized, oh, I'm not leaving, I had to choose, okay, both my feet are planted here. And for however long that is, I'm going to engage and I'm going to try new things and I'm going to find new ways to meet people. I'm going to, still go to Friday nights, but try a new running group, try this, try that, do go more than once, like try a hip hop class. I love hip hop classes, but find a church I'm really excited about and I'm going to be invested in, which I have, which is great. And you hear what I'm saying. So I think that's really meaningful advice. So thank you. Yeah.
You're welcome.
And yeah, still looking for your mountain bike friends. Still feel like we'll find them in the next 2 weeks somehow.
Theresa, I think I did my last ride today.
Well, this is a very significant day.
Yeah.
You're not shedding tears though, because you're going back to the Rockies.
Going back to the Rockies, going back to a place where I started mountain biking and I still know many people. And yeah, excited for that.
The place where your love began.
But it's not a place without issues. I don't know how much I've mentioned to you, but some of my best mountain biking friends are people that I have tensions with and that I have conflicts and and even fights, I guess. So
that's not what the best friendships are made out of.
Whereas here it's like the relationships are so just kind of superficial and surfacey. I've not had any fights with any mountain bikers here.
Yeah. Have I ever told you the story of how when Daniel and I were first dating, we drove up to Fort Collins and on the drive back, we had maybe had an argument about something and
well, you
we
didn't
were quiet.
Yeah, you didn't invite me.
Okay. The point of this is that Daniel made a comment about how he wished that we would fight more because he would feel closer to me if we did.
Well, it sounds like an attachment style thing.
But that just highlights that when you are close with someone, you're more likely to be dealing with real life,
Yeah.
And you might have some run-ins, hopefully not fighting, but
well, it's
conflict.
Like, when you become really good friends with someone because the mask is just the filter. Let's not say mask, the filter is gone, right? I'm having a bad day and you know about it. I'm not mad at you or angry at you, but I'm angsty, I'm frustrated, and I'm not trying to hide it from you. And
sometimes they do something and it triggers you and then you are mad at them.
Sure. Do you want to talk about that?
No.
Not recorded. That was a different friend. But also, there's opportunity for reconciliation and resolve. And what better way to do that than on a mountain bike in the dirt? Okay.
That's dirt evangelism you're talking about right there.
Sure. Dirt church. Yeah. So is there anything else? Oh yeah. What does community mean to you?
I think there are qualities to community. We haven't premeditated on these questions really beforehand. I think community, it's a group of people that has a group identity that's outside of the individuals of the group. I think a community is both ways for all the party involved, meaning like it's not a bunch of groupies following a band. Like it's
You're not gonna follow Bingley's band?
what instrument does he play?
He howls.
That's true. He does.
Sorry, continue. Bingley is my dog.
I think of community as being a group of people that you feel you belong with, or a sense of belonging to. And I think that there is mutuality there. I think it also involves a sense of you're kind of looking the same direction with each other. Like shared vision, shared values. They don't all have to overlap, but something usually overlap in some way. And then you learn about, the ways in which you differ. But I think a big part of it is that sense of I belong with you and you belong with me in this friendship. Like we have a place to be together.
That's good. And I even think there's lots of things that community forms around, right? Sometimes it's just, hey, we're a group of friends. We met in high school and we've always been friends. Sometimes it's, hey, we do this Friday night dinner and we were friends before that, but that's kind of become part of what our community kind of forms. I mean, we see each other a lot more than that, but sometimes it's a running group or a mountain biking group, or sometimes communities formed around shared interests. Other times it's shared values. Sometimes it's activity, lots of things. Community. Sometimes it's just, hey, I go to the same coffee shop every Thursday morning and I see the same people there. For a while it's just like, hey, like acknowledge, a little head nod. Then it turns into a, hey, good morning. And maybe a few weeks later it's, I don't know, some random conversation like, will you watch my laptop while I go to the bathroom? Then maybe like, hey, I don't know. Like
This is exactly like school pickup and drop-offs. You run into the same people every single day, sometimes multiple times a day. And at first you don't necessarily say anything. And then eventually it's like, well, I see you every day. I know who you are and I know at least a little bit about your life. And you eventually,
well, I mean, to your point, like
talk.
Didn't you just have a birthday party with Benji where families there found out for the first time you were moving?
Yeah, I count that Daniel's fault for not telling.
Okay, that's not the point. That's not the point. Okay, the point was you mentioned you weren't invited. No, I'm just kidding. No, the point was you were mentioning to me there was a couple families at Benji's party that didn't realize you were moving, and they were kind of sad or
they were surprised and sad. Yeah.
But you were saying, well, we haven't really hung out other than like a couple of shared birthday parties and stuff like that, but you're at drop off every day together, and there's something to that regularity and familiarity, regular consistent interaction that provided a sense of them feeling like, wait, you're a part of my life.
Yeah, right? we do belong in their life,
right?
In some way, there's a familiarity there. I think, I've thought about the people who have expressed some sadness over us moving. A lot of these people we don't know that well. We don't have a depth of friendship with them like we do you. They're more acquaintances, but in a lot of ways, it is the loss of the potential of a future friendship. I think because it takes so much time,
sure,
to form a real friendship. with a lot of these school families where we run into them for just a few minutes every day over the course of 2 years, we have finally built up enough touches, you know,
Rapport,
like
yeah.
enough touch points to be familiar.
Mm-hmm.
And now that we're moving, it's the loss of that having the potential to go anywhere into real lasting friendships. And I see that in a lot of those families. If we stayed, that could turn into a real friendship. Yeah.
Well, and the acquaintances count, right? They are making up your life and a part of your day in, day out. And I think it's in different seasons, we have more capacity to go deeper with more people. So there's all these things. And like you said, you would have more time to build a deeper friendship or a real friendship. But anyway, I just thought it was interesting because it was like, oh man, there is a sense of belonging and community, even in that.
Even
like,
in that
school community, school drop off kind of space. And then how do you take it from, I see you at drop off to, hey, what are you doing later? Should our kids do a play date? There's those incremental steps and there's a lot of intentionality that has to go with that, right? But like you said, it takes time.
Yeah. And just the willingness to let someone be a part of a different aspect of your life.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah. Oh yeah, we love to compartmentalize. These are just my school friends. This is my friend and that friend.
And I guess in that sense, community is very dynamic.
Yeah.
It's always changing.
Fluid.
You know, the community that we left in Colorado Springs will not be the same to the community that we're going back to.
For sure.
And I think the community that we have here, even if the situation were different, maybe we didn't have kids, or maybe, you know, you got married and it could be very different. I guess it seize the moment, you know, in a sense. And I'm not always the best at it. I feel like if you sense there's potential in a relationship, let's say with another parent at a school drop-off or at a running group, be vulnerable and be awkward and make it happen.
It's that awkward part. I can do that.
That
I can do
awkward
that. I can
part.
do the awkward part.
Yeah.
And I think the more you do it, the less awkward it becomes.
Sure. Or it's always just a little bit awkward and it's okay.
And yeah, be comfortable with that awkwardness. Be
Yeah.
comfortable with the uncomfortable.
I think the older I get, the more I realize I need to be willing to let people know that I don't have friends in this situation. You know, like when I attend a new church, I feel, partly because I'm an introvert and making all the new friends is hard for me, but I feel such a tension when there's not structure. It's when it's unstructured time and people are just hanging out. Boy, I feel so much anxiety. and so my tendency, the tendency is like, do things, go to the bathroom, get a cup of coffee, make yourself busy, or leave, or the big thing is look at your phone, act like you're busy on your phone. You've got things to do and people to talk to, they're just not here. And so some of it has been like, don't take out your phone. Don't go to the bathroom. Like, you don't need to go to the bathroom. You're just feeling awkward. Stand here and just be awkward for a few minutes and just be in it. And maybe someone will see you and come over and talk to you. And maybe you will get up your courage to go and talk to someone else or to walk up to a group of people and introduce yourself. You know, and those are really hard things for me to do.
It's a very vulnerable moment, actually.
It is, but it's also, it's no good to just hide behind your phone or leave early because you feel awkward. You don't make new connections that way. And that's really what we want, is to feel connected to other people.
No, that's so good. I remember when we first became friends, you guys were going to a church out here and you went to a women's thing. And I remember specifically you told me the story about how you went and you were in the foyer and people were connecting and you were like, I just decided to stand there and just stand there and hope that someone would talk to me. And I just remember listening to you and being like, wow, like, oh, I remember being a little bit jealous, like, man, I don't know if I could do it. I get super, like you said, am I gonna look at my phone? Am I gonna go to the bathroom? Am I gonna wander around, find the one person I might know, or just go find a seat, right?
Yeah.
For the longest time, I was 5 minutes late to church. And I think part of it was because I didn't want to do that moment in the foyer where I was like, but then that doesn't, that doesn't really serve the, like, yeah, Jesus is worthy, but it doesn't serve the other reason that I'm there. And it's like to connect with people. So anyway, I remember being really impressed with you actually when you told me answer. I was like, did anyone talk to you? You're like, no.
No.
I was like,
no, they didn't
in that setting.
In that setting, they didn't, but it was a choice, and I'm glad I made that choice because to me that's scary. And after standing there for a couple minutes, I saw a group of people and I was like, well, there's no reason I can't go walk up and just join that group. And I did, and it was fine. And do I have lasting friends from that interaction? No. But it's good to do hard things.
For sure.
And
You didn't get munched though.
No, nothing bad came from that interaction either.
Yeah.
And in some ways that's good to try those things and say, you know what? That was not that bad. That actually wasn't really hard.
Right.
And the reason I wanted to do that, to stand just alone by myself and let people see that I was friendless, basically friendless and not trying to hide it, is that I notice people who do that. And some of my really good friends that I have made in that way of seeing them just being there, obviously not knowing anyone and not knowing what to do and being kind of awkward. And I would see them and be like, that person has no friends. I should probably go say hi. That gets something in my heart. And those are the kind of people that I see. It was a good practice to be the kind of person that I would normally reach out to and be in that position and just not hide.
Yeah, no, it's so good. That's so good. And you are a gift. And people that see the one that's just hanging out and really just needs someone to say hello to them, you are a gift. Yeah. Any other thoughts on our fake Friday night? Our fake Friday night called Wednesday, called Chinese Food Wednesday. Daniel made us Chinese food tonight.
It was a good night.
I was like, before you move, I need ants on a tree.
Delicious.
That's a dish. I didn't collect ants.
Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah.
Tree.
Yeah.
It's a really tasty dish.
For our numerous audience.
Oh, right. Yeah, because there's going to be a lot of people listening to this.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. No, probably zero because I have no marketing know-how.
Well, we all have moms.
We start somewhere.
Yeah.
And consistency.
Right. This has been really fun. Just recapping, and I was telling you guys before we started, I'm like, you guys are getting ready to move. It's only right that you would be the first interview. So yeah, really grateful.
It's been such a blessing of a practice to spend Friday nights with you. And I think before we moved to Ventura, we had started to learn about Sabbath, there was a great series on the Bible Project about it. And we read this liturgy book that also talked about it. And then we were reading the John Mark Comer book. And I feel like personally, as I was learning about Sabbath, you and your friendship came along with this beautiful opportunity to really put those things that I had been learning into practice in a very real way. To learn to take a break, share a meal, really just make space. I feel like that's really what we've done on our Friday nights, is make space and set it aside and just be present. And I think that's been such a gift and it's been a beautiful way to do Sabbath.
I agree.
Yeah, and I would say, it is beautiful, but some Fridays I myself was disengaged for one reason or another, and or like after we had dinner and I'm scrolling on my phone for a couple of hours and my mind is buzzing and I didn't take that opportunity to rest. And it's like, and those times happen, but
They do.
I think overall it's the consistency, and I think we have created something that's special.
Yeah. Yeah. And we'll come on Friday nights and or to Sabbath or to community as we are, right? And so some weeks become full of life and strength and great moments, and sometimes become a little disengaged, disconnected, a little weaker.
Yeah.
And that's okay. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's okay. Totally okay. There was something. I don't know. Anyway.
You can add it afterwards.
Totally can. It could be a different episode. Anyway, thank you guys so much for taking time and for staying up late after your kids have gone to bed and all of that. And yeah.
Thanks for interviewing us on your podcast.
Yeah.
So exciting.
It is so exciting. Oh my gosh, I'm really gonna do this.
Well, you just did it. So